Welcome to the first PNW Best Life live stream. We're going to be talking about the 2024 salmon forecasts in a minute here. I got the word out a little bit through a few different sources that I was going to be doing this, and just going to wait a few minutes for people to get a notification, maybe join. Otherwise, it'll be recorded and you can watch it after the fact. And depending on how this does, maybe I'll do more of these. And the intention was last year I made a video about the 2024 forecast and the North of Falcon process, and that was well watched and commented on, and and I thought, well, maybe I'll try to go do it live and take live questions, conversation about the topics. if that's a better way to do it, we'll find out here as we go through it. I'm going to start with the chinook forecast in a minute. So the meeting was on Friday in Olympia, open for public attendance or Zoom, and I did it over Zoom. It was about 2 hours, 2.5 hours of presentation, and then almost 4 hours of Q&A. And of course, the most popular question and type of question was related to Marine Area 11. That there was a lot of, and for good reason, a lot of frustration about the way the summer season was handled last year with early closures, and 75% of the quota for July, August left on the table. There was also a little bit of that frustration in 10, although we had the early closure in August and then the later openers on the weekends. Excuse me, we largely got our fish, our chinook in Marine Area 10. And if you were Coho fishing last year, you probably caught an awful lot of Coho. Definitely not historically, best year, but maybe one of the best years for resident Coho that many could remember. So it was, all in all, a good salmon season in 2023 for a lot of folks, even though those different issues definitely caused us some challenges. But let's get into 2024. I'm going to start with fall chinook, and we're going to review. Let me just see. Screen sharing works here. Here we go. All right, so let's talk about the fall chinook returns in 2023 first. If you're watching here, feel free to drop a comment. Let me know what you're interested in, what you're most concerned about for 2024. I'll make sure to try to cover that as well. So, all right. So 2023 chinook returns. You could see from it's the same type of graph with the picture of Western Washington. It's going to be used for all of the forecasts and return slides. You could see the neutral, is the blue 75 to 125% of the 10-year average run size, and then good is over 125%. You can see the slide there. So we had a lot of red in the mid to North Sound part of Puget Sound, which is unfortunate because this is where some of our runs are already struggling, and we'll get into that as we kind of get into the the forecast and what might be going on in terms of the salmon season setting process. But if you were in the North Sound, fishing the Samish River, incredible returns there as it's continued to be extremely good. The South Sound actually ended up doing way better than a lot of folks thought. I think originally the Nisqually was expected to be under, and it came in over. The Puyallup was good. So it's kind of a mixed bag there, but overall, things were pretty solid for just the overall amount of chinook that came into Puget Sound. Let's look at the forecast for 2024. So again, in the South Sound, you have a lot of green, right? You have really positive numbers in the South Sound. I think we're expected to get somewhere around 90,000 hatchery fish back over the total South Sound, which is a great number. Not the best in the last 4 or 5 years, but it's a strong number. It's going to provide a lot of good fishing, even if Marine Area 11 closes earlier than we want. Although that's something that folks are working really hard at in the recreational community and also at the department to try to come up with ways to avoid these kind of closures. Marine Area 13 is usually open, and Marine Area 13 can be really good Chinook fishing in August and in September for those South Sound fish. North Sound, of course, again, the Samish is way up there, right? It's expected to be another really good return. And then Mid Sound and North Sound, those rivers that we have some problems with, the Stillaguamish, the Snohomish, they're more and even Skagit, they're in that neutral range, right? So and then the green is also coming in under as well, but there's not a huge Chinook season on the green, although I know there's been some in the years past. That's not going to shock a lot of people. What this really is going to translate to is there's going to be some really good fishing in the transitory marine areas, talking about 4B, Marine Area 5, CQ, Port Angeles, Marine Area 9, Admiralty Inlet, right? These fish are moving through, and they're going to provide great fishing in that process, as they usually have. I mean, most summers with numbers like what we're expecting, 250,000 plus Chinook to come into Puget Sound, there'll be good fishing out there. The big areas of concern are areas like Marine Area 7, Marine Area 10, and maybe even Marine Area 11 in terms of encounters with some of the struggling natural origin returns of Chinook that have most of the constraining impact on our fisheries. Just as a reminder, if folks aren't aware, the Puget Sound natural origin Chinook are ESA listed, which means we only get to fish on them by filing a lot of paperwork and having a lot of a monitoring framework and management framework for making sure we don't have too much impact on the natural origin Chinook. So, and because those Chinook don't stay in one particular area, they're all throughout the Puget Sound and the Strait. There's a whole modeling effort to try to make sure that when they come up with the seasons, that the impact is not above what they expect. And the co-managers, the tribes have to agree to all of the things that the department comes up with. So and then together submit that to the federal agencies for approval on the season. So it is an involved process. It's north of Falcon is like the beginning stages of it, where in this first meeting was like the forecast kickoff. So that's a long-winded way of saying there's challenges anytime we're trying to open up Chinook fishing in Puget Sound. And this is the whole purpose of this is just to try to help you understand maybe what some of those issues are, and where the fishing is expected to be good, and where to expect maybe some challenges based on all of this. So whether it's challenges in abundance or challenges in just having a season because of these hoops that we're jumping through here. So all right, enough on the forecast side. Let's just look at a little historical perspective on the run size here. So I got one of the questions I got on the blog post that I'm kind of following up with this live stream on pnwbestlife.com is where's all the extra Chinook from the additional plants for to feed the orcas, right? The SRKWs. And so you could see that this graph sort of towards the right, the last 4 or 5 years have been had a big spike in hatchery Chinook compared to some of this is cyclical that you're seeing on the graph here as well, right? We've had bad ocean conditions in that sort of 2014, 2016 timeframe. 2017 was that spike up, right? It was one of the better years of Chinook returns in recent memory in Puget Sound. But if you look at the graph of the last 10 years, you can more clearly see the additional Chinook numbers that are coming in from a hatchery standpoint. And if you really want to see, you would drill in on the particular particular hatchery that you're interested in, and look at that are getting the additional smolts from the SRKW plants, which I'd have to go look those up to be on that. But in general, I think we definitely see a bump in Chinook returns in the last 3-4 years, and that's reflected here. And we were also benefited greatly from good ocean conditions, a very rare three-peat La Nina, right? That improved temperatures in streams, snowpack, ocean conditions, etc. So we're benefiting from all that. If you just jumped on the stream here, definitely feel free to, if you can drop a comment. I'm not quite sure how all this works. This is the first time trying to do this, so if leave me a comment, let me know that you're here and what you're interested in. When can we begin fishing for them? So this is the process. Thanks Jose for dropping the first comment in here. The answer to that is really this process is figuring that out, right? So right now we do have, from last year's process, we have a marine area 10 and 11 blackmouth season going on right now. And I actually was out yesterday getting beat up by 20-mile-an-hour winds and struggling to catch legal size keeper Chinook. That's a whole nother, we could have a whole nother stream on blackmouth and the issues there and the challenges. But right now it is open Wednesday to Saturday for marine area 10, marine area 11, blackmouth Chinook. So, but this process is to set the salmon seasons for the 2024 summer season, right? It's weird, we have a license year that starts on April 1st, but all these seasons aren't figured out until late June when they're finally printed. The new regs come out, and the salmon seasons for 2024 open up in a variety of places, right? So usually you get by June 1st the resident Coho season, and then July, some of your Chinook seasons, and that's going to be dependent though on this whole process. So stay tuned. This won't be the last video I make. It might be the last live stream, depending on how this goes. Won't be the last video I make on this process, and certainly not the last blog post on pnwbestlife.com on covering it. And there's many more meetings that I'm planning to attend and to try to stay plugged in and advocate for our opportunity as much as possible. So all right, let's look at, we're going to go a little bit more. We're going to look at some individual forecast comparisons now. So if you look at, this is the natural origin Chinook. So this is where you can see some of the conservation issues and the season limiting constraints that come up. So this is comparing 2023 to 2024. And these numbers are largely estimated using math. And they're done from red counts of reds that are conducted to count spawners. So you have a mix of kind of good news, bad news here. Green River's down a little bit. Still Squamish is down between 2023 2024. That's a huge bummer because the Stilly is one of our most constraining rivers. On the plus side, you've got more Puyallup natural spawners. You got more Nisqually natural spawners. Those are all good things. But all of these in general, overall in general, you could see wild Chinook continue to, or I should say natural origin Chinook continue to be, continue to go down in their numbers. So, DeBass, thank you so much for that comment. I appreciate the encouragement. I'll keep going. If there's one person I'm helping out, I'll keep going. So appreciate that. Let me pull up this is a little bit more interesting because the numbers are much bigger and affect our actual abundances on our fishing seasons here, Puget Sound Chinook forecast comparisons, right? So we're going to look at some of the numbers here in green. Dungeness, Hoko, these are some of the straight rivers we've had some restrictions on from Skagit, summer, fall, but some of the big numbers here are pretty steady. Nisqually, this excites me, 15% bump in the Nisqually. That's going to help our South Sound numbers, and that's one of my favorite Chinook rivers to fish as well. So you could see some of the Puyallup down a little bit in the hatchery numbers. Green River down a little bit as well. And yeah, and then the Still-Squamish hatchery numbers are off a little bit as well. And Snohomish up. That's a bummer because we have some challenges in our Snohomish season. I wrote about it on PNW Best Life last year, and that's one of the areas I'm most involved with, trying to help us figure out, trying to advocate for a season on that summer chinook fishery on the Sky-Comish, as the numbers are keep improving, and we didn't get to catch many of those last year, so that's kind of a bummer. All right, now we get a little bit more technical, right? Kind of going further and further into the deep end of the pool here with what is happening. This is called this is kind of where they started us off at. It's called the NALF run, which is the NALF stands for New Abundance Last Year's Fisheries. So they take all the new forecasts that they came out with and shared with us on Friday, and they plug in last year's fishing seasons into the model and just see where we're at. Let's find a starting location for this whole process, so we just know where we're at, where we're gonna have problems, where we're gonna what looks good, etc. And so you could see right away. Well, let me explain what some of these columns mean. So the abundance tier, these numbers or these letters, this acronym LAT is the low abundance threshold. So UMT is the upper management threshold, and all of these things refer to, and the LB is lower bound, which is really bad. That's the lowest the lowest management threshold. And what these things tie to is there's a Chinook management plan that the department and the co-managers of the tribes agreed to, and is being approved by NOAA, that makes it easier for our seasons to go be set every I think it lasts like 10 years or something like that. It just makes the process easier if they have an approved management plan with all the biological opinions and framework and for what's going on here. So the threshold you're in, the abundance tier you're in, is going to correspond to an ER ceiling. What the heck is ER? ER is exploitation rate. So how many of these fish are being taken? And you see these different percentages. There's different types from southern U.S. There's pre-terminal exploitation rates. There's a bunch of different things to unpack in here, and I don't want to bore you all with it. The bottom line is you can kind of see where some of the trouble areas are, and they add up all the impacts that they get from Alaska, from British Columbia, the tribes, the sports, all of that. They don't include the seals and sea lions. I think those should be broken out into their own separate category, just so you see how many of them are eaten by seals and sea lions. NOAA did that study a couple years ago that 7 times the amount of salmon that are impacted by recreational and commercial anglers combined. Seals and sea lions eat 7 times that number, which is an incredible stat. We didn't talk about seals and sea lions the entire presentation, which I was bummed by, because I think that's one of the most important environmental factors for us to understand and the path forward. Last year we had someone speak to us about that and what they're doing about that, and the Marine Mammal Protection Act, and what can they do within that framework. I'm hoping that will come up throughout this process, because that's one of the most challenging issues in Puget Sound. These critters are all the way up our rivers in some cases, just mowing down smolts. The harbor seals actually do most of the damage when a lot of times you don't even see them when you're not on the river, in the wintertime or spring, these out migrations, they're just mowing down smolts and consuming them. So that's a whole other thing to address. But let me just focus for a second on some of these natural origin stock issues. So in particular, the Still-Squamish. So just what this means here. So if you look at the Still-Squamish row, it is the unmarked exploitation rates above the LAT, and the southern U.S. exploitation rate came through on the NALF run at 9.4%. So there's an ER ceiling of 9%. And we ran through the model. The first cut was 9.4%. Now they could take that 0.4% from in-river fisheries that the tribes run. That number to the right of it, the 5.3%, that's the pre-terminal southern U.S. exploitation rate. So that's our marine fisheries, right? After Canada gets a shot at them. So they could take that from our marine fisheries. They could take that from the in-river fisheries. That's part of the negotiation. That's part of what has to be worked out. The one that's really a big concern here is the Snohomish, because it's below the lower bound. According to the management framework, the Snoqualmie needs more than 700 fish to be above the LAT, and it's predicted to get 687. So that's a challenge, which means that there is no exploitation rate for that. But with we had this issue apparently 2 years ago, and they were able to work this out with the tribe. So let's just say, for the sake of consideration here, that we end up with an 8.3% management target. Then the which is the LAT rate that's in the management framework. Then the initial run says we're already there. And remember, this is last year's fisheries, which we did not have a robust chinook opportunity on the Skykomish last year. So we have some work to do. And most of the impact on the Skykomish or the Snohomish system is pre-terminal. It's our marine areas. It's mostly from our sport fisheries in Marine Area 5, 6, 9, and whatnot. So that's going to require some work to get to carve out a fishery for the Skykomish. I'm hopeful we don't need that many impacts to be saved for the in-river fishery, but I'm hopeful that that we're close, that there is something that can be done, that we will get a summer Chinook fishery on the Skykomish, but it's not looking great right out of the gate here. So we'll see where that ends up. So and then I also have the NALF run on our South Sound Hood Canal stocks. Nothing here quite of concern. I know the Nisqually's been brought up before, but this is really, I believe, more about harvest share than a conservation concern. The numbers are great, but we also beat on that run quite a bit all throughout Puget Sound in the river. The tribes have a robust netting fishery there, and so we have to stay within our ER, and we're close. Don, appreciate the question there. Why don't the tribes take control of the seal problems? That's a really good question. I have some thoughts on that, but part of it I would just say is the whole seal and sea lion problem, dealing with it with any kind of lethal removal, is politically very, very challenging in the climate we're in. So just to give you an example, the MMPA allowed folks on the Columbia River, the departments there, to follow a particular protocol for lethal removal of seals and sea lions. From the numbers, it looks like it's basically saved the Willamette steelhead fishery and some other critical fisheries that were just getting decimated, right, by the seal and sea lion concentration there at below fish ladders and where fish really pool up. And they had a public comment period about the topic, and 95% of the comments in that public period were against lethal seal and sea lion removal. The public is overwhelmingly against the idea, and yeah, the tribes could just go do that, but the tribes have their own desire to fit into that political environment, with the services they offer, the entertainment services, the other things they're doing. So the tide has to change on this with the general public, which is, one of the things I'd like to see happen with the message getting out there more clearly, that it's about ecosystem management. It's about stewardship. And right now we're not doing a very good job of that, with the number of these critters just exploding and their population just growing by tremendous amounts, such that, a lot of our habitat restoration we're doing, a lot of the money we're spending on hatcheries is just going right into seal and sea lion poop, and we're spending billions of dollars on that. So that's a significant challenge. I think that's something that we've got to stay involved with, get that message out, and ask the department to put numbers on it, to track it, to manage it, to show us what's going on. That NOAA study removes a lot of the ambiguity from the whole question of, like, is it happening, to what degree it's happening. Their conclusion is it's absolutely happening at a prolific rate, this consumption of salmon. and by these pinnipeds. So something's got to be done. They're taking some of these actions on, on the Canada side with the First Nations, and we just got to stay involved and keep pushing the message forward that this isn't just about whacking cute cuddly critters. It's about ecosystem management and being good stewards of the resources, which we're not doing, and Puget Sound is notorious for not doing that very well. And I think there's a fit within the general public for that message, but it's got to get out there in that way. So thanks for the question. It's one that's really, really important one to ask and to stay on. All right, so let me move on from this, and let's talk coho. Let's talk coho. So 2023, particularly if you were resi coho fishing, was ridiculous, right? I talked about that a little bit earlier. That was one of the best resi coho seasons most people can ever remember. It was not even a question when you went out fishing for those critters, and hopefully we'll have another robust season. Don't know if it'll be that good. That was pretty crazy, but the fall return was also pretty good in some areas, and I'm excited by what's coming up. But let's look at 2023 real quick. We had some trouble in the far north and the far south, but in the middle it was solid, right? Between what's going on. Looks like the middle green bubble is like Washington. Skagit was decent. Snohomish was decent. Still-Squamish was decent. So we had some bright spots in our coho. Less so in the Nisqually and Puyallup area. But check out 2024 coho forecast here. We are expected to have over 700,000 combined hatchery and natural origin coho return to Puget Sound. There's a lot of green in this map. The Nisqually, the Puyallup, like Washington, Snohomish, and what you wait till you see the numbers on the Skagit, which I'll show here as well. Incredible numbers there expected. So I'm thinking, a lot of the coho fisheries, they start around the oil docks, right? These fish come in from Admiralty Inlet, and they crash into the beach there and decide whether to go north and south, which is why that's such a great place to fish. Is these fish don't know where they're going yet until they kind of hit that terminal point. So you fish the oil docks, Richmond Beach, all this stuff. There's usually fish there, but you'll be able to get them north. You'll be able to get them on possession. You'll be able to get them at shipwreck. I don't know if 8182 will be open for coho. Hopefully it will, but you'll be able to get them south on Jeff Head and Chilchul and all these popular places for coho. And if the South Sound coho turns out, you hopefully you'll be able to get them in 11 as well. So, the coho obviously are a hugely important part of our Puget Sound fishery, and we're there's a lot less drama in coho seasons compared to what we deal with chinook, and so there's a lot of excitement here for time on the water, people getting these tasty coho caught and in the boat going home. So just a little historical reference, though. You can see the 50-year graph here. We hit some real coho lows in 2015 that we're still, we're bouncing back from, but this has been a good last few years for coho. And I remember 6 years ago or so, the coho were a lot smaller on average, and it's been decent, right? Decent sizes, decent numbers. It's not as good as some of the historical abundances you could see here, but if your reference was mid 2010s, you're pretty happy as a coho fisherman. And you can see that a little bit closer on the 10-year as we zoom in just a little bit here, right? Look at the last 4 years, it's been solid. It's been good coho abundances, and that's played out in the fisheries. And that's been really, really encouraging. A huge part of our Puget Sound fishery. So let's look at some of the comparisons of individual stocks, though, and this is where I get excited. I'm in the South Sound, but my son's going to college in the North Sound, so I have an excuse to go up and see him. And I did a little bit of that last year. I fished the Skagit for some coho. It was incredible fishing, and I look at these numbers: 63,000 natural origin Skagit fish expected back. That's exciting. Looking forward to getting in on that. Those are some beautiful fish. The fishing usually season is long, right? It'll take you through late fall. We're going to have a lot of opportunity. Guides will be able to run trips through a lot of the year on that fishery, and a lot of us will be able to take part in that. So that's exciting. And that's just the natural origin side, right? If you look at the hatchery side, let's see if it'll load up here. Here we go. Hatchery side, again, Skagit, 27,000 fish back at the hatchery. That's gonna be a lot of fun. Those fish are fun to tangle with. Throwing. I think I got a lot of them with eggs under a float almost every cast last year on one of those tributaries on the Skagit. Very, very good fishing, and but jigs, spinners, all that, really fun to get them that way too. So yeah, good news on the Coho front. Stocks of concern for Coho. There are some concerns. The Strait of Juan de Fuca rivers consider rebuilt as of 2024, so that's exciting. The Snohomish had major issues going back to 2015. They were considered rebuilt as of 2022, but they're still cautious there, making sure that because a lot of these things are cyclical, and when you get back around to the age class where it was lower abundance and more difficult, that return tends to be challenging. So you got to kind of get through all that to make sure that they really return in the numbers. And I think they're down slightly this year compared to last year, but still in that rebuilt status from the lows of 2015. There is still this. If you remember, fall 2022 had really low water, higher stream temps on the coast, in some of the Chehalis tribs and some of the Puget Sound rivers. In that late fall period, there's concern about how that may affect some of the issues for Coho, but we'll see. That's sort of just the concern level for Coho, but there's mostly good news on the Coho front. Can't really complain. We'll do chum next, and then we'll finish with sockeye. Here for chum, 2023 in Puget Sound rivers was not good. It was not good. Although the green continues to be a strong river. It's not even on here with the bubble. I'm not sure why it's not on here, but the green it continues to be fantastic for chum, and hopefully that run is doing well, because I'm not seeing information on it from what the department listed. I should ask that question in later meetings, because I didn't catch this the first time it was out there. But yeah, so chum not good in 2023, and 2024 numbers look a little bit better. Some of the North Sound rivers still have some challenges with chum, but we're more steady on South Mid Sound rivers, and maybe they're just including all those in the Central South Sound 46,000, right? That number that's up there, and maybe that includes the green, and they're not called out separately by river. I know Nisqually and Puyallup have continued to have challenges. I don't think we've had a season on them for a little while, so maybe that's where some of the issues come from. But the green continues to be a great place for chum in the fall. You could see historical run size. We had some real lows around 2020, and we're coming back off of that. In terms of Puget Sound in general, working our way back. Chum can take a really long time to rebuild their stock, so it's good that we seem to be on a good trajectory and reaching some of the historical better run sizes, hopefully in the future. Chum, some people, you don't eat a lot of chum, but man, are they fun to tangle with. They're the second largest salmon that we get back after the chinook, and they're incredible. They're incredibly easy to catch. If you've never caught a chum, never been chum fishing, look at some of the videos up on my channel on chum fishing. It's just the easiest fishery to get into. Jig, a little bit of shrimp under a float. It's just money, and it's so fun, so much fun. So and then let's look at, all right, so the sockeye thing is pretty cool. Sockeye has been challenging in Lake Washington. Every year we talk about Lake Washington, and there's more work going on to get some plants in the Cedar River and things like that to try to rebuild this run. But the bright spot for sockeye continues to be Baker Lake. Last year was a great season for those who took part. I did not last year, but know people who are passionate about Baker Lake sockeye, and it was a really good season. And if you haven't heard about 2020, this is maybe the best news of 2024 forecast, although, the Coho folks maybe might say, hold my beer. 2024 sockeye forecast, Baker Lake, 56,750 fish. That's the best. That's the best ever. And that should be an absolutely incredible time for folks to take part in that. Evergreen Mountains asked, does the hatchery spawn all the Coho fish returned? I think they spawn up to their what it takes to fill up their egg bank. They can't I don't think they have room to raise every single egg that they take. So there's usually a surplus that they donate to food banks and other things like that. So no, I don't think all of them are spawned at the hatchery, but they are obviously going to spawn what they need to get their brood stock for the amount that they can raise in that particular hatchery. So thanks for the question. But yeah, so you got good numbers at Baker Lake. Those numbers on the Yakima and Snake are better than normal, and the Okanagan is steady, and the Wenatchee 97,000 fish. I might do that Wenatchee run this year. I don't know. The problem is there's so much going on in like late July, August, when these things are usually going off, that I'm like, man, it's hard to get. I'm usually out somewhere chasing chinook around. That's my passion. It's hard for me to readjust everything for a sockeye mindset. But one of these days, I'll definitely get out there, and I like to do a lot of different fisheries. So I should really make that happen this year and go experience some new stuff. But maybe I'll get an invite to Baker Lake and someone who's already got campsite reservations, because if you don't already have them, it's all full. It's all sold out. So we'll see about that. See who I can twist their arm and try to get on a boat up there. Here's a little picture of the historical run size. Obviously, super sad, dismal, right? The Baker Lake side of the graph is climbing in more recent years, but you could see what the glory years of Lake Washington. We just haven't had in a really long time. So I know a lot of folks are still bummed about that. You hear from different people on every North of Falcon, someone jumps on that's like, I used to fish for sockeye. My dad used to fish for sockeye in the 80s. I mean, it's something a lot of us have in our family history or our own personal history. If you're a little bit older and remember those times. So yeah, hopefully we can get something back. But you got to take advantage of what's going on with Baker. That's really good news there. And then here's the 10-year. So Lake Washington, Baker combined, and obviously Lake Washington is a little bit lower, hurting those numbers there. So couple conclusions about environmental factors. Smolts entering the ocean experience good ocean conditions. Again, it's that La Nina situation that we've been in, the three-peat La Nina, which is a 1 in 90 year event. It's been really good. We thought we were shifting back to, we did shift back to El Nino, and we thought, oh no, that's gonna, kind of make some of these environments challenging for our salmon. But we're supposed to transition to La Nina again this summer, which, if you like a dry, hot weather, you might need to go to Arizona or something for that, because it's not going to be here. But that's good for salmon. So hopefully those will continue, and hopefully we'll get some rebound in these critical stocks while we have good ocean conditions. I think one of the concerns everyone has is, we're going to get, we've got these weak stocks, and then at some point the ocean conditions are going to turn against us, and you're going to have that double whammy of weak stocks and difficult marine environment, difficult conditions. We haven't seen that yet. Hopefully we'll have some better rebuilding from this positive environment that we have right now before the eventual, because all this is cyclical, right? But the problem is the cyclical keeps taking us lower and lower on these natural origin stocks, and we've got to get out of that. Got to deal with the seal and sea lion problem. Habitat, we continue to lose habitat as well. So that's hard to rebuild your natural stocks when they're getting mowed down by seals and sea lions, and your habitat loss continues, even though we're rebuilding a lot of it. So there's good news in 2024. There's a 250,000 chinook coming back, 700,000 coho coming back, 50,000 Lake Baker sockeye coming back. There's going to be chum in the Green River and other parts of Puget Sound. Like there's going to be a bunch of places to fish for salmon. We're going to get to fish for them. May not get all the season stuff we want, but we're going to get to go salmon fishing. The coast is going to be good. The Columbia River, I'll probably do a separate thing on the Columbia River and the coast, but just briefly, there's expected to be a decent number of chinook and coho back. So the ocean seasons should be solid as well. And if you've looked at anything on my channel, you saw that was an absolute blast in 2023 doing that Westport Ocean fishery for chinook and coho. It was like going catching. It was awesome. So hoping for more of that in 2024 as well. And let's see, anything else? Here we go. Here's a graph that WFW showed that really, I think, rankled some people. They didn't like this graph because what they're showing here is the catch per day for some of our previous years, 2009 compared to 2018 or 2016, and comparing that to recent years. And they're showing, hey, we've got to give you shorter seasons because there's more people fishing each day. And the problem with this is this is somewhat of a chicken and egg problem, because the reason why more people are fishing is because the seasons are shorter and shorter and shorter. It is true that there's a lot of people participating in these fisheries. We are good at catching fish in many ways, right? The number of fish that are getting caught each year is largely staying somewhat constant. Although Marine Area 11 anglers would say, no, don't give me that crap. But so this graph was definitely aggravating. The department showed this and tried to show this as a challenge related to future recreational opportunities, because the reality is, if we've got longer seasons, we spread things out, there's more stuff open, catch per day should go down. And so this was presented as one of the challenges. Even with, they did acknowledge that the reason why these numbers have gone up is because of these shorter seasons. But they've also tried to put it out there as part of the message of well, we also, you all are catching fish much better than previous years, and so that's creating a challenge for modeling actual seasons of maximum time on the water. So again, finish up the whole recreational season setting considerations. Still go on with chinook. It's going to continue to limit some of our fisheries. One of the challenges and back and forth between folks is chinook directed fisheries versus time on the water. So the more chinook quota you eat up in the salt water, the marine areas, the less potential time on the water you have to catch and release chinook while fishing for coho. The less time you get on the rivers to have sport fisheries. Every year you see people frustrated by the lack of seasons in the rivers, and they go, what's going on? And the only thing they see is gill nets in the river, and they get frustrated by that. They don't realize a lot of times that before it ever got to a river fishery, Alaska took their fish, West Coast Vancouver Island took their fish, our marine sport fisheries took those fish, and now what's left is split between tribe and recreational river harvest, which a lot of times it's going to tribal because they have the treaty rights of the 50-50 split, and they're making up for all the fish that were caught in the marine areas and sport fisheries. And so it becomes a contentious issue, but the tribes are obviously going to exercise their rights, but in terms of political forces that are generally aligned with recreational anglers, there's a whole lot more alignment there with the tribes, and there are some of the folks in this space who are suing the state to stop raising hatchery fish, trying to draft conservation policies that make removal of predators impossible, and predator management and some of the ecosystem management things that are happening in our state. So there's a lot of unwarranted animosity there from the rec community towards the tribes. And the more educated you get on the process, the more you understand what's going on, the more you're like, hey, appreciate you guys, all those fish you raise in the Nisqually hatchery and the job that your biologists do and the commitment to raising hatchery fish that are the tribal co-managers have. They do a really, really good job on a lot of that stuff. And they work together with us behind the scenes in a lot of ways that a lot of people don't appreciate and don't understand. So there's bad actors on all sides. I'm not going to disagree with that, but there's one of the things that you should be more aware of if you're not is how much good stuff is happening in that space and how much alignment there is in our interests to go be good stewards of the resources and manage the ecosystem. They've been doing it for hundreds of years, and we have not been doing a very good job of it. So, all right, enough of that. Get off that rant. We're 45 minutes in, and I think this is the last slide I wanted to share. So I will stick around for any other questions and cover some other random stuff if you're still interested in sticking around. Otherwise, we'll kind of wrap up the stream. But I wanted to show something here on what is this here? Oh, so if you want to know how the blackmouth fishing is doing, I've got the krill reports. A lot of them have been updated on WFW's site, and of course, they're updated on PNW Best Life as well on the Marine Area 10 and 11 Chinook pages that are on the site. But here's what's come up for the last 2 days, right? It was open Friday and Saturday, and pretty brutal south winds both days that I think made fishing more challenging, although some people were really on it and got their fish. But you could see Marine Area 10 started out pretty decent. This is a fish for every 4 anglers. That's like a summer number. So that's a really good number. But then you go to Saturday yesterday and it dropped down probably closer to, it looks like about 1 in 10. And that's more of your typical blackmouth success rate, especially after some of the bitey fish get pulled on the first day. This obviously is just the creel sample. This isn't the real numbers, probably 2 or 3 times this if you're trying to estimate total fish caught. But this is, you get ask enough people, and this is usually fairly representative of the catch per unit of effort that you can get an idea how good was the fishing. So I've done a lot of my own comparisons, and the creel numbers generally match with the network about how good the fishing was. So that's Marine Area 10. You can look at Marine Area 11, and it's a little different. There was more people creeled in Marine Area 11, and the fishing was, it was not as good. So on opening day, it looks like around if I estimate that might be 1 in 9. And and yesterday there were a little bit more fish, but a little more people. And again, probably about 1 in 10, one legal Chinook for 10 anglers. Now the positive thing is, from the people I've talked to and the things I've heard, is that no one is really encountering very many sublegals. So that whole sublegal encounter thing is hopefully not going to come into play, and the season will get through March and maybe even into April, which is what a lot of people are hoping for. But as long as we have these sublegal quotas, that's always going to be a factor of concern. But so far it seems like people aren't encountering a lot of them. I talked to several people yesterday that were fishing, near clay banks, near Owens Beach, point to find they didn't hook a single fish the entire time, much less any sublegals. So that's not great that people had struggled to catch fish, but if you're hoping for more time in the water, it's a good thing that people aren't catching those sublegals, and we should be able to get those seasons. So I'll probably be out there in 10 or 11. I don't know. I haven't decided where I'm going to go yet, but I'll be somewhere on Wednesday, I think, and try to take part in this for a little bit more, get a little bit more fishing in, knock all the rust off the downrigger of the boat, all that stuff, and try to get some more shots at them. Of course, we also have all the Southwest Washington steelhead stuff going on. I'm definitely not done doing that. That's still a lot of fun. There's a smelt dip coming up on Tuesday. If you've never dipped smelt, check out my blog article on that. That's worth. I've already got my 20 pounds from the last It's 10 per person, but my wife was with me, so we got 20 pounds, and I got my fill of cleaning smelt. So that was that's all the smelt I need. But they're fantastic fish, really good, mild flavor, a lot of oils. Like, I mean, they're really tasty critters. I like to have a lot of variety in my freezer. We don't want to just only have like salmon and steelhead. So jump at the opportunity to get some smelt if you can. And then, of course, the other thing that might distract us, I also have a blog article on this, is the 2024 ocean bottom fishing season. You guys realize it's this Saturday. It opens March 9th. That's going to open in the marine areas for lingcod, marine area 2, 1, 3, 4 is open. 4 east of Tatoosh is open year round for rockfish, but lingcod's going to open. So my thing with that is it's all about weather windows. Got to be smart out there, going over these bars, going out, venturing out, especially in March. March can throw some pretty volatile weather at us, as we've seen. But if you get a good weather window, jump on that early. And often those quality lings, they get picked off those rock piles. By June, there's not as many of them of that quality around. So it's definitely, I like to get out there early and pick up a few 20s. A couple years ago, I got a 38 pounder in Marine Area 4. That was awesome fish. But that's exciting. If we get a weather window, I'll probably be out Westport doing that a few times. So, all right. Well, no other questions here, and we'll close the stream down. If you're watching this later on, feel free to drop a comment and let me know if you liked it. And I'll try to get word out more in the future about scheduling one of these. If you want, I'd love to talk more North of Falcon, more salmon season process, and just other fishery topics as we're going here. And I'll try to get more notice out there if you want to attend live. But definitely let me know if you want to be part of the live stream in the future and be able to have some Q&A type of discussion. Please drop me a comment. Let me know so I can give it the priority that you put on it. As I'm here for you, help you be more successful catching fish, harvesting shellfish, whatever you're trying to do, and get that awesome P&W food straight from the source, fresh and sustainable harvest of all that wonderful food. So we'll hope to see you out there. Stay safe. Take care.